Sean O'Brien, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
Put your helmets on, buckle your chin straps. It's a full contact sport.
We're going to find out who has a better bad idea. I thank you for being here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You are like truly inspiring to me, not only because of the person you are and the positions you take and the moral compass that you possess, but you have, unleashed this AI, I don't know if it's paranoia or a thirst for learning about it. We deal with it representing workers all the time, but as a result of getting to know you, not through conflict, clearly. Well, maybe it was a little conflict. I got to know you on a picket line, but
not conflict with each other.
No, never. It's never going to happen.
PTP.
Listen, even if I'm wrong or you're wrong, I'm going to blame it on me because you're such a good person. But this AI, especially now, it's growing legs because there's a moratorium that's going to be introduced in this Senate reconciliation bill coming up shortly, which we are trying to derail, so to speak, and it would basically not allow states to regulate AI for the next 10 years. So for the next 10 years, we can see a assault on a lot of things that are important to us in society. And you have actually opened my eyes to not just the vulnerabilities in the workplace, but the vulnerabilities in society. Have you been following this moratorium that's been proposed by another great senator? And I say that with all due sarcasm, Ted Cruz.
Well, one has to wonder why. And then one could next look at what kind of money is being contributed to reelection campaigns. I'll just say that. Like, why would 10 years in tech, that's like 75 years in anything else.
So you're suggesting that money is influencing decisions made in this country, whether it's for the betterment of the American citizen?
100%. I'll tell you, people are going to have cognitive dissonance, with what I'm about to say. It's going to be hard for them to hold one thing that I'm saying in their head with another thing I'm going to say.
So should we shut the comments off now?
No, please keep it open. I love the comments. I think, I have a computer science degree, right? So I love tech.
Yeah, but you didn't get that till later on in life.
Right. I graduated in 2016.
But it wasn't your passion. It wasn't your passion saying, someday I want to get a computer science degree.
Well, it was it was such a pleasure. I mean, highest highs, lowest lows, during college, because, these were really hard classes. But
did you join a sorority or anything?
Very satisfying. No, I didn't join a sorority, unfortunately. But yeah, graduated UCLA with a computer science and digital media management degree. And very satisfying to get that computer science degree.
And why did you do it? Did you see something coming, or did you want to be educated on the future of the business, or what provoked you to?
Well, I was working in I was writing and directing. I was working in and producing and in the digital space, very early 2007, 2008. And anyway, I'll give you the short version. I got to a point where I was like, I need to circumvent this. Everybody seems a little kind of behind the wave of it. So I thought, well, I'm like half in tech anyway. I'll just get a computer science degree. And
you make it sound like you went through the In-N-Out drive-through and just ordered it and got it.
And good thing I thought that way, because otherwise I don't know that I would have had that major, because it was hard. And one of the reasons it was hard, because I'm not gifted at it. When you are gifted at something, and I am gifted at like writing, directing, acting, my former career, producing, but I'm not gifted at coding. So I had to work really hard. But it was, the degree to which you work on something is the degree to which you will enjoy a triumph when you are successful at it. So that was really great. Gosh, why did I bring up the computer science?
Well, we were talking about, what provoked you to go into computer science, and why'd you do it? Was it something you saw coming in the industry, or?
No, it was just so I could get these projects going that I was putting together that combined tech and entertainment. Okay, so yeah, brought all that up to say I love tech, and like I said, I have a computer science degree. But at the same time, I think generative AI is one of the worst ideas we ever had.
So when you say you like tech, or love tech, what do you love about tech, or what kind of technology?
I love computer programmers, software engineers. There's some of the most genuine, inquisitive, nice people I've ever met. My classmates at UCLA. And the idea that you could take this combination of letters and numbers and punctuation marks and...
So for our audience, if you're describing what you just described,
that's code.
Are those algorithms or code?
Well, it's just code. Like to code anything. To code the form on a website where you would, put your information in and buy something. Mm-hmm. That's code behind there. Because computers are stupid. They don't know what to do. You have to tell them, like, if you want a name to go on a form, you have to create a container for it. Like, it doesn't know where to put it.
Well, that's amazing because it's such
you got to do everything.
There's such a thought process that computers, when they first came in the internet, 90s, 2000s, everybody thought computers were so smart. But they're only as smart as the information that the humans were putting into them.
Yeah, it has to be coded. So something like generative AI is code. It is an algorithm, a very complex algorithm, but it's basically, I've always said it's like a blender, and it will spit out what you've fed it. Like it'll spit out a version of what you fed it. If you want it to write books, you have it ingest, 1 million books, and then you give it it'll give you a Frankenstein spoonful based on your prompt. Mm-hmm. Say you want a book that's about panda bears in space, and provided you've fed in books that deal with panda bears in space, otherwise it won't know what you're talking about, it'll give you that. But for me in the arts, like that's not going forward at all. It's the total opposite. That's complete regurgitation of the past. It's a very easy way to automate content and also sequels. And I mean, so anyway, I'll get into that later, like what I believe is going to happen with entertainment, what I know is going to happen with entertainment. But when I say, like, I think it's one of the worst ideas society's ever had, on a broader scale, not just in entertainment, I think it's going to wreck a few things. And I don't mean, though this could happen, I suppose, but I don't mean that an AI system is going to set off an atomic bomb. I'm talking about something that, even if that were to happen.
Well, couldn't AI in the wrong hands do damage to what you just described, like set off a bomb? I mean, there's some pros and cons that the experts are going back and forth on.
Anything's possible. But what I think is going to be incredibly damaging, short of something like that, is the hollowing out of people. Because in order to sell this, now think about it, what are they pitching? They're pitching AI assistants. Let it book your holiday. Now, when I say all these things, please remember that it's wrong over 40% of the time.
Right. So that there's not a consistency of being accurate, is what you're saying.
No. And people say, oh, it lies, it hallucinates. And like, there's nothing, how would it know that it's lying? That's ridiculous. It's just wrong. It's incredibly fallible. And they go like, oh, wow, it's able to have a conversation with me. It's so incredible. It's like, it's a parlor trick. What's incredible? It's ingested all the conversations that are online. So you think it's incredible that it's just spitting that back to you? Mm-hmm. It's like, listen, like if you were to play back a conversation, a phone conversation you had with someone else, and then you play it back and it's like, wow, it's like he's talking to me. Yeah, because it already happened and now you're just playing it back.
But our generation, wouldn't those be imaginary friends that we created in our mind?
Yeah,
now they're actually going to be literally false conversations recreated as a result of a conversation that may not be accurate, right?
Yeah, that may not be accurate. So what they're selling, say, we could book your trip, or we could write your email, or we can, did your daughter just, your toddler just ask you for a bedtime story? just speak it into prompt chat GPT, and it'll come up with something for you. So, and then, people using chat GPT in college to write their papers. Like, okay, if you got your degree because chat GPT did your work, then any job you apply for can be done by chat GPT.
Conversely, though, let's take it back one step. Couldn't the academia, the people that are teaching these college courses, couldn't they be using AI?
Oh, and they are.
They are, right? So
and they are.
How can you hold someone accountable, a student accountable, for utilizing AI when you have academia who is actually not putting in the work and utilizing AI?
The fact that schools are incorporating AI, first of all, is child abuse. It's like, why don't you just take your child? This is I'll tell you the physical equivalent of doing this to somebody's brain while it's developing, even after it's been, developed as an adult. Is it be the equivalent of taking a 18-month-old, not letting them learn how to walk, just put them in a wheelchair right away. Don't let them develop the muscles in their legs. That's the equivalent. It's absolute child abuse. And it's also so self-defeating. Like, do schools want to become completely irrelevant and totally useless?
Think about this, though. I'm a university. I'm a college.
Yeah.
I'm getting huge tuitions. Aren't they going to take a financial hit if AI runs rampant?
Well, here's what will happen first, though. And this is why it's going to get drilled into the foundation of all these systems and institutions. Drill holes in it and then jam this foam in it, really, this generative AI. And then I'll talk about that in a second. Because it allows you to get rid of some of your workforce, because it allows you to reduce your human capital overhead, which is going to widen your profit margins. That's why it's going to get instituted. Even though it's fallible, it's not as good. And, people say, don't worry, it's not as good. It's like, you don't understand people's motives for incorporating it.
Well, that's a great point, because in our world, in the blue collar world, everybody thinks technology is a great thing. Employers love efficiency, and they love the fact that they want, and we've been fighting against this for decades upon decades, where employers want to do more, meaning productivity, with less people. AI is going to give them the opportunity to do less with more people. I mean, I think society in general loves the convenience of...
You just said something, I think it was a faux pas that's totally appropriate. Less with more people. You might have meant more with less people.
More with less people, I'm sorry.
No, but your faux pas is right.
Right.
They're going to do less.
Right. Oh, yeah, and they're going to do less, but make more. Think about the profits. Think about the profits, right?
That's right.
I mean, you're not paying a workforce. You're getting tremendous efficiency out of something that's, to your point, is 40% accurate at best. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to diminish, number one, the quality of work that's getting done.
Big time.
You're going to, further expand the disparity between workers and corporate greed. And then you're going to do more with less people. How is that good for this country?
How is that good for... And it doesn't... if a country, if a country too, but if a company wants to expand, grow, get better, right? They've got to innovate. They've got to come up with something new. Like if it's a company that has a few products, they've got to, think about what other products can they add to what they have, or services or whatever, right? In order to grow and increase their profits, right? I mean, that's the idea. But this allows them to, like we were just saying, enlarge their profit margins without doing any of that.
So it's going to be the rich just keep getting richer.
It's just about eliminating overhead. You don't have to innovate. You don't have to expand. All you have to do is shrink your overhead, and boom, you've got your profit just increased. Mm-hmm. But you're, like you just said, you're not making anything better. You're not expanding. You're not moving forward. You're not moving your company forward. It's not about moving forward. It's about circling the drain and making more money at that.
This episode is brought to you by Catcher's Law Group, proud advocates for injured workers and their families since 1986. If you've been injured on the job, navigating the workers' comp system can feel like fighting an uphill battle. That's where Catches Law comes in. They've recovered over $3 billion for hardworking people just like you. And they don't back down when your rights are on the line. They know what it means to stand shoulder to shoulder with unions and workers across the country. Because at Catches Law, it's not just about compensation, it's about justice. Look, when you're a worker and you've worked in an industry for a long time, you are subject to repetitive lifting, bending, and stooping. And a lot of times your body, like anything else, wears out, and the employer wants to throw you away at that point in time. You got injured because of the hard work that you have sacrificed on behalf of your employer. There's no law firm that fights harder for you than Catches Law Group when you are injured at work. Learn more at catcheslaw.com. That's KECHES law.com. One more time, that's catcheslaw.com. KECHES law.com.
But where do we ultimately end up? Where do we ultimately end up if, a couple things, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more in depth, but if AI is not regulated over the next, and what they're trying to do in Washington, D.C. right now is not regulated for the next 10 years, what do we look like as a society in 10 years with zero to no regulation?
Okay. Here's where I think the cognitive dissonance is going to come in for people about me. They're going to take generative AI for all the reasons we said, for the greed, for fear, I want to be part of,
It's trendy, it's bougie, right?
Also like the conformity principle of like, well, I want to go along with this. If I don't go along with this, then people will think I'll be left out. And also people, will think that I'm not smart or whatever, ridiculous. But it's the equivalent of this. Take all these systems and institutions and everything, companies are like buildings. And they're going to take this concrete foundation and they're going to drill holes into it with, this is the metaphor for incorporating generative AI into their foundation. Drill holes into it, inject foam into it, and then soon after go, well, what's going on with the building? It's falling down. What's happening? And so they're going to incorporate AI, which is going to kind of destroy all these systems.
Well, the integrity of the structure is being compromised.
That's it. And it's not that AI is some being that's taking us over. It's not some alien invasion. It's not a invasion by another country. It's not being done to us. These are humans. I think it's really important for people to remember. These are humans that are injecting it because of greed and fear. That's it, not to make things better. So all of these sort of systems, people are going to go like, oh no, our whole grading program at, fill in the blank university isn't working anymore. Somebody fix it. So, and then it's like, well, it's a problem because you've incorporated all this generative AI. And they're going to say, well, get it out. And you can no more get it out than me getting a piece of pineapple out of you that you ate 2 hours ago. It's all throughout your body, right? So that's the same thing. You start incorporating it. And the only way you're going to get rid of it is if after this falls down, you can't fix it. It's a tear down. All these systems and institutions and stuff, their foundational structures, they're all going to be tear downs. And they're just going to have to start over and build back what they had, probably close to what they had before they started all of this. But in doing that, what we've experienced in the last 8 or so years, all right, let's go back like 20th century. We had like new stuff coming up in each decade, right? The 40s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 90s.
Well, look at the Teamsters Union started with horse and buggies.
Yeah.
I'm sure we were dead set against combustible engines when they came in, right?
But you still had, people had to drive them.
People had to drive them, yes. We still had a human operator, which we'll talk about later on.
Yeah. So you had all these new things coming up in philosophy and art and music and math and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. And starting around 2005 or so, 2007, there's a lot of good things about the internet and there's some good things about social media, but a lot of what it did, it created this monoculture and it created this kind of metal grid that's just sort of pressing down on all new things coming up. Because algorithmically, if you want to sell something to somebody, it's better if they stay exactly how they are. They're much easier to sell to. That if they stay.
What's a target audience?
Yeah. Also like recommended for you. You bought this last month. Don't you want to buy it again now? Don't you want to keep doing the same thing? And so a lot of this through greed and fear, there's a lot of pressing down on like the education system, entertainment for sure. Like don't have any new ideas come up. And there's a fear around new and the future and all of this. And so what generative AI does is it destroys, or what it will be used to do, even though I think it's a terrible idea, the destruction that it brings will actually destroy these grids that are pressing down. I mean, and in a way, so generative AI would be used for that, for the good. You know, there's like good things can come out of bad situations. In, I think, definitely entertainment and perhaps education.
So the one thing that I'm glad you brought
And then
this up.
something remarkable is going to come up after that, like a new genre in the arts and probably a renaissance in the education and all these.
So
other
there are
areas.
pros. There are pros in your opinion of AI.
There are pro. No, there is a pro that, and this could have happened differently, but because people are hell bent on bringing this crap into all the foundations of our systems and institutions, something good is going to come out of it in spite of them. That's what I'm saying.
And that won't be their direct motive.
No, their direct motive.
It'll be a result of just the evolution of it.
It will be because God makes good things. I think, look, we haven't, like, let's just say the arts. There hasn't been a new genre in the arts since the 90s of any real significance. Mm-hmm. There's been some good work that has happened in the last, 15 years or so, but that hasn't been the focus, right? That's not what's heralded or championed. And so that new stuff needs to come out. How is it going to break through that metal grid that's sitting so tightly on top of it? Well, the system has to be kind of broken because the people that are in charge of that grid are not allowing new stuff to come up. And so that has to be broken. How is it going to get broken? Oh, well, they're kind of doing it to themselves anyway. Great. And so that's, for me, I'm like, do it faster then. You guys are going to destroy everything. Do it faster, because I know what comes after is going to be something really remarkable.
And how do you recover from something that's been being destroyed?
New stuff comes up. Like,
right.
It's
Which
like
could be worse.
No, that's not what's going to happen.
No, what's going to happen?
No, remarkable, because I think people will be so hungry for something really real and really human and really special.
But how do they learn about this? I've been doing a lot of research on this because of you, obviously, and previous conversations, which I think is a great thing. But you've got some experts, like one guy that his name is, Geoffrey Hinton. He's the godfather of AI, right? I don't know if that's self-proclaimed or if that's
he worked
for Google. Yeah, I mean, he's got a degree in artificial intelligence going back to 1958.
He's been in it a long time.
And I've listened to him, and he seems like a nice gentleman. He seems brilliant. Won a Nobel Peace Prize, but he left Google in 2023 because he was concerned about the negative impact that AI is going to have on society. Yeah. And there's been several other people that have, been in that world that have left as well. But the one thing that he said in one of his interviews was that the problem why people don't know a lot about AI and the effects is because people like me who left, Googles of the world and other tech companies have to sign these NDAs, and there's a lot of stuff that we can't talk about because of these NDAs, which I think is ironic, because here is someone that created something or helped create it, and conversely is now trying to warn the detrimental aspects of it. Mm-hmm. Seems kind of contradicting.
Yeah, he should be able to, he should be able to speak about how it's going to damage society.
And I think he does. And he even made reference in one of his interviews. I don't know if it was CBS This Morning or one of those. And I've watched, he had an interview on 60 Minutes a year prior, and he was pretty consistent on what he was saying. But he said in this interview, look, we all sign NDAs. That's why no one really knows a lot. We can't disclose a lot of the information. He says, but I've signed a ton of NDAs, and I'm probably violated every single one of them. Right. But on the next breath, other people that are out there saying, hey, this is a great thing, but here's the downfall of AI, and people should take the opportunity and learn about it. Why should people take the opportunity to learn about something that they can't get the information on? Yeah. And how do you do that?
That's a good point. And one of the problems is that now to me, there's a distinction between software engineers and tech bros. So tech bros to me are like the guys that like maybe they don't even code at all, but they're in the tech world. They're getting the money from investors, and they're out there, championing, doing all the podcast interviews. I mean, at this point, Sam Altman, I don't know what he does. This is the runs OpenAI. I don't know what he does except do podcasts.
What's funny, one of his guys, I think I have his name here. Sam Altman is a huge name in OpenAI, right?
That's it.
And there was a person that used to work for him that is working for. I think I have it right here. I've been writing all this stuff down, so forgive me for looking at it. But
is it someone who's still there?
No, he left his company and he's got this other company. It is called Anthropodic, Dario Amadonio, some Italian name. But he made a reference to what I'm talking about. Ordinary people should take the time and make an effort to learn and utilize AI. How do I
learn and utilize
AI, right?
Why?
Right, exactly. So who is he to how am I, Sean O'Brien, truck driver, Local 25, Boston, Mass, proud. How do I learn to utilize AI and to embrace it when I don't even know anything about it, because the information is so scarce and it's not even regulated?
Well, here's what they're selling.
And he used to work for Altman.
Sure. So he works for OpenAI. He works for this company. What are they doing? They're selling their wares. They want you to get a subscription to their services.
Right.
Okay. So what are they going to sell you on? This is what they're selling you on. It can be your assistant. It can book your flights. It can book your whole day. Have it schedule your whole day. Have it pick out the kind of car. What car are you going to drive? You're going to buy next. Have it write your emails. Have it, like I said, bedtime stories for your kids. Have it do all this low-hanging fruit stuff that you just, I hope people look at that and go, I'm good. I mean, I can write an email. In fact, writing an email creates a legal paper trail. So you should be writing your own emails. If you're giving that up, you're going to be responsible for that if you ever are brought up in a court of law and they look at you and your emails are there as evidence. So also, like, you're putting your name on it. You're still a person that's responsible for this.
Think about the most inept CEO right now in this country, and I'll use politics, Gavin Newsom.
Sure.
Right? Probably the most unqualified CEO running a huge state, right? Think about, in my world, I always have to make decisions and I think them out. I always have to look at the pros and cons, risk versus reward. You get a really not educated, dumb CEO that has a ton of money, and he's only as good as his top, executive assistant. And that executive assistant actually could be AI.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so even though how unqualified or unsophisticated I am, because of the position I am, I can look like the brightest person in the world and reap the benefits of it as a CEO being replaced by AI.
This is part of what they're selling. What, that this guy would use AI so he sounds smart.
Exactly.
Okay. Maybe that would sound smart to other people who are also using AI to write their emails.
Right.
But it's simply not. It's, like I said, it's a regurgitation for other things, and it's kind of all of. Look, what it comes down to is, what do people think life is for at all? If they want to capitulate the writing of emails or taking responsibility for booking your own trips, or what else are people using it for? Putting together a greeting card for your aunt or your husband, or putting a poem together for your loved one or something. All of these things are a part of life. So, and I'm not here to stop people from using it. Go for it. You're just stopping your forward momentum right there.
I mean, we're dumbing down society in a way.
Yeah, like for students, you are stopping your intellectual growth right there. For artists, if you really are an artist and you're using it, you are stopping your forward progression. If you're not an artist and you're using it, don't call yourself an artist. You're prompting.
Well, just think of in our world, my world.
But it's theft, by the way. All the stuff that you make
didn't we used to call
off
that plagiarism?
Yeah, but it's also, you know, for someone to use like Mid-Journey or
Yeah.
Sora or something like this, any image that you come up with from it is because they ingested all these human works and then, you know, put together a little Frankenstein
And take credit for it.
Yeah, and without pay and without consent.
You know what's troubling to me? It's, you know, we're always battling as a blue collar world that I live in, that I grew up in generationally. We're always battling, you know, threats on our jobs, threats to our community, right? But a lot of times people don't engage in the support of such threats, especially in the blue collar world, unless it's happening to them in a white collar world. And you look at like AI,
Yeah.
right? If Kim Kardashian can be a lawyer without a law degree, right?
Can she be?
Well, that's what she claims to be, right?
Well, everyone's a CEO of their own website, right?
Right, exactly. I'm the CEO of Better Bad Ideas,
See?
right? I don't know if that's good or bad, right? But you think about not just the blue collar jobs that are going to be affected. You look at the white collar jobs, especially the entry level jobs, you know, and you look at, why do I need to hire a lawyer at $1,200 an hour when I can, you know, go to a AI site and get advice and strategy from that? So my point to all this is, once you see an effect on these big money white collar jobs negatively as a result of AI, that's going to wake people up, but it may be too late.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, like, I can't stop it. Actually, don't want to stop it. But I'm going to point at the people that are perpetrating this as it's happening, for sure, because they should get credit. They should get credit for destroying our society. Sure, for sure. But I know something great is going to come on the other side of this. So
What do you think it is? What's that something great?
Oh, just like I said, so I'll just say in the arts specifically, like what I'm calling the new, like something really raw and real and human. I mean, I don't know if people have noticing, but like in the arts, fine arts, music, films, like there's, I mean, you have to be old enough to remember like the 80s and the 90s and think of the sorts of things that came up during those times. But we really haven't had anything like that for the last, I mean, definitely the last 15 years. And like I said, some exceptions, but there's not been anything new coming out because the internet, social media creates this kind of monoculture. It's all kind of pressed down. And think about this. And I know this is a little bit off the AI subject, but everybody's tapped into the same thing. Like 25, 30 years ago, if you and I and a few other people were sitting around the table and we're all talking about, I don't know, tapestries or cars or whatever, you would have some, and well, you have a lot of experience with cars, but, you know, from your perspective and your experience and people that you know, and then me from I know, or maybe I read this book that was specific to what we're talking about, and we have all these different sources of experience and information and perspective, and I'll bring that to the conversation. Now everybody's bringing virtually the same thing to every conversation. We're all tapped into the same, you know, For You, Twitter feeds. Generally speaking, we are, right? I know it's specific to people. And Instagram and this and that. And we're all sort of just tapping into the same, everybody's tapped into the same thing. The same, you know, if they watch Fox or MSNBC or whatever it is, it's just all the same. It's all flattened out and the same. So it's more of an effort for people to have a unique perspective or a unique take on something, or especially within the arts. I mean, look at how many sequels and reboots, and oh my God, I can't believe it.
It's funny. You make a great point, because growing up in the 80s and 90s, which we did, you always kind of frowned upon having those conversations with certain people that read it out of a book and formulated their opinion out of a book. And oftentimes I used to hear this phrase, they're book smart, world dumb.
Yeah.
Right. So because you read it out of a book doesn't mean
right.
it's right. let's talk about some life experiences you've had with that subject matter, right? Let's talk about some experiences that would contradict what's in a book.
Possibly,
Now we're doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
We are taking that information that's been created from a narrative AI, and now we're all just following that narrative without looking at any life experiences that would support maybe a difference of opinion and or highlight what's different about what's being said in AI.
Right. So even just look at search, right? So we used to I used DuckDuckGo for years, but, Google, and you'd get a bunch of different results, and you're reading through the results, and you're going to get hopefully some variety in the results, right? In what you read. But now people are just asking Grok, or they're just asking, ChatGPT or something like this, like you just said. So now they're all tapped into the same, what? Now you're just going to get one statement by some dumb algorithm, and you're just going to go, well, this is the truth. This is what it said. I mean,
We'll take it one step further.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the plan.
Okay, think about this. Let's say, like I said, you get this AI assistant, and it's going to plan your trip for you. How much you want to bet right now? Companies like Marriott or Delta Airlines or whoever, and I'm not saying this is a criticism of them. I'm saying how much you want to bet all those companies are making deals with these AI companies to be the airline that is booked or the hotel that is booked when the AI assistant books somebody's trip.
And what happens to the people in the middle, that collateral damage that have done these jobs?
How many for sure, those jobs. And also all the other hotel chains and airlines and anywhere else. Also, I don't know. The idea of
I'm the guy that still goes in a supermarket or a store, and I refuse to go to self-checkout. I don't care if the line is 25 miles long. I will not go in that, because I look at it saying, if I go in that line, I feel guilty. If I go in that line and I don't go in that line, I take the path of least resistance and I go scan my product and leave. Me personally, I said, I just destroyed someone's job. I just destroyed someone's career.
No, Sean, you're right. I was talking to a store clerk the other day about that. They do check the numbers. They check the numbers to see how many people are using the self-checkout. And if enough people are using the self-checkout, then they are corporately justified in getting rid of another cashier.
Right. And that's
how they do it.
That's wrong. I mean, where do those people go?
Also, part of you growing as a person is having interactions with other people. You can't progress. You can't develop as a person. You can't develop your personality or anything if you're just in a closet with a laptop. It necessitates interaction with other people. So that's another thing. That's a curious thing, right? Well, it's like if we were to look at it as as if there's some big plan here. Part of the big plan then is to make sure that people don't become who they're supposed to be. That's curious, no?
Well, listen, I mean, look, my mother, who raised three of us and raised her 3 younger brothers in the projects in Charlestown, and she's helped raise our 5 grand boys, right? My brothers, our children. The one thing she always said about me is she's like, I always told you, shut your mouth, because I was always asking questions. I was curious because I wanted to know. And she'll tell the story. She's like, he always asked questions, no matter what was the subject matter. He wanted to know why. And I just kept asking why. To your point, that's not going to happen anymore.
Oh, but it's happening with these AI models.
Right, but it's not happening with a conversation between human people.
No.
Right?
I saw a post by somebody who said, what's great about this? I have a kid who's asking why on all of these things. And I just handed him, my phone with ChatGPT on it. And he said, and he just talked to it for an hour asking all these questions. And I'm like, dude, just take your child to an orphanage right now. Because you obviously don't want to be a parent. I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing?
Sell that little bastard right now? Is that
right now? You don't you've capitulated.
Well, think about
parenthood?
what you said. I mean, I don't have to read my kid a story. I can just put a story on
Yeah,
it?
that was
on
another
AI?
one. A parent going like, "Isn't this amazing?" And I'm like, "Dude, you have lost the story in both senses of the word. Like you have just lost it. I don't know why you had kids if you don't want to participate in stuff like that."
Right. I mean, it's part of our upbringing has always been the human interaction.
Yeah.
In my world, it wasn't always positive, right? Because
Yeah.
most of the negative stuff I earned and I deserved. Your mother yelling at you, screaming at you. How do you discipline your kids? How do you nurture your kids? How do you, if you're going to just turn them over to AI? And what are those children going to aspire to be?
Well, first of all, I think the younger kids right now, and when I say all of this, I want to remind people, this is not you are not strapped down to some table with some tube in your mouth and it's being jammed into your system. You can not use it. I mean, wherever you can avoid it, don't use it. I mean, if you want to live a life, don't use it. But whatever, it's up to everybody. I'm never going to use it, knowingly.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, sometimes
tell me about it.
You call a call center to book your flight.
Oh my God. I'm like agent,
Right.
agent. And then when somebody comes on, I say, "Are you human?" Like I'm not going to have a conversation.
Well, like, how do you prove that?
with
Like, do you say,
an
like,
algorithm.
send me a selfie of you, making sure you're human?
I just ask, "Are you human?"
How do you know if they're not?
Good point. But I'm not going to knowingly have, and I also don't, the computer voice, we've been interacting with, algorithmic kind of voices for a while now, right? I like when they just sound like a robot, right? But they well,
because you could tell.
But now they have these inflections and let's see, let's try this again. All these sort of human inflections, and I'm like, guys, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get me to feel like I'm talking to a person? Why? Like, just it's a computer program. It's not a person. I'm flat with it. It says, "Would you like to da da da?" No.
Like some like sexy like British accent.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to go, "Oh no, thanks anyway."
Yeah.
Am I supposed to do that?
You're
No.
flipping your hair.
I'm just gonna go no.
Right.
I'm just gonna speak flat with it, and then I want a human.
Well, that goes to what we've talked about earlier. Like, you can masquerade anybody through this AI. You can masquerade, like, so to your point, Tom Brady. Can't Tom Brady call me up and have a conversation with me and not actually be Tom Brady?
Well, I mean, voice cloning is so easy. I mean, people should really be careful with that. I've been telling people for a long time, like, have a password with your family that you set when you're in person. Don't text it to each other. Have your phones in another room, so half your apps are listening to you. So have your phones in another room and have a password. So when, quote, your mom or, quote, your sister calls you and says, "I've been in an accident, I need you to send $5,000, you can ask for the password.
Right.
If they don't have the password, then that's somebody's cloned your sister's
And that's
voice.
the minority of the group that has passwords that are prepared for this. Most people aren't.
Most people aren't, but I'm saying establish one with your
Right.
family. Like, what's the code word or whatever, just establish one in case you're ever in this situation and it is your dad's voice or it is your brother's voice. But then you're like, I don't know, this voice cloning is so easy. Mm-hmm. And then at least you have some kind of test.
Listen, we had a great conversation here today. We've got a lot to talk about. I look forward to our next episode.